Thank you, Professor Darshan Shankar, for giving me this opportunity on the Dhara platform. Truly grateful. So, I'll be talking about medical informatics and traditional knowledge. The next 2 decades, we have been hearing very, inspiring talks by many people on aspects related to it. So, I thought I'll start with the traditional knowledge digital library, the very first of its kind globally. So all of you might have heard the story of turmeric, basmati, neem being patented, and we had lost ownership of our own traditional knowledge through this. So the government of India thought of a mechanism to see how we can prevent patents from being filed and granted on our traditional knowledge to prevent misappropriation. That is, from patents being granted, any IPR from being granted on our traditional knowledge. So the TKDL, that is the Traditional Knowledge Digital Library, took its birth in 2001 under the collaboration of the Department of Indian Systems of Medicine and Homeopathy and the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. I'd like to boast that it is one of the largest repository of traditional knowledge today. Close to over 4.25 lakh of formulations have been transcribed from various texts of Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, and Savarikwa, and also yoga techniques. What we do is that provide this information as a prior art information to patent offices so that the patent examiners take note of our traditional knowledge and do not grant patents on any patent application that has relevance to it. So far, we've been successful in about 265 such cases where patents have been revoked, amended, or abandoned by the patent applicants based on the TKDL evidences. The TKDL database is available in 5 languages, including English, and it is, the first of its kind where the traditional knowledge, which has been decoded and codified again to make it structured and searchable so that it is of use and relevance to the patent examiners and also to address future needs. I'm very proud to say that the cabinet had very recently approved widening of the access of the TKDL, which was so far been restricted to patent offices. Thereby, it is kind of opening up many avenues for promoting research, innovation, and trade on our traditional knowledge. Of course, it has high relevance to education as well because it's one of its kind. I'd like to say when we are talking of TKDL database, it's not a mere translation of our traditional text. It is a value-added database wherein we add modern terminology such as botanicals, including the local names as well as the Sanskrit names or the traditional names. We have metric measurements that have been included in the database. The formulations have been described amply, and also the process by which the formulation is made. I would also like to say that this is one platform where the different streams of Ayush talk to each other. I think Dr. Ram Manohar mentioned that, and this is the one of its kind, wherein you would have only two Vaidyas speak about only specific things, whereas the streams themselves can talk to each other, and that is the value that the TKDL provides. I'd like to restrict my talk today to only medical informatics because of the relevance. So here I'd also like to say, we heard about the Global Center for Traditional Medicine, again, one of its kind, the first of its kind in India by the WHO. And among the 5 objectives that have been laid out by India for the GCTM, the very first one is about creating a database of traditional knowledge system using technology. TKDL is a precedence. And here the GCTM targets not only the Indian systems of medicine, but traditional knowledge from world over. And here the other very important ones are creating international standards for testing and certification of traditional medicines, developing protocols for holistic treatment of specific diseases. So when we talk of all of this, it is about R&D, information, data creation, and making this available so that decisions can be made. So when we are looking at databases and other portals that are available on our Indian systems of medicine, they are either very distinct, sometimes done in solo, sometimes they are, are not in at the scale, subscale to make any meaningful information. When you talk of TKDL, as I had already mentioned, it is a source of information on traditional knowledge. We have information on traditional medicinal plants also. Many such databases are there. I know there has been, of course, immense work done by all these bodies, including the TDU, in terms of enriching information. But yet again, there are so many that needs to be consolidated. We have the Ayush Research Portal for disseminating knowledge on Ayush systems and current research updates. A lot of papers that have been included, research papers on Ayush related research and innovation. And these have all also been classified in 3 levels of their validation. Now we have the Ayush HIMSS, that is the Hospital Management Information System, which provides the electronic health record, personal health records, and it manages all functions related to health delivery. We also have the eCherak from the NMPB, which is the biocellular interaction module. We have also small databases, research databases from CVR, from CSIR, and many others as well. But as I mentioned, they are all subscale and may not be, kind of meaningful to the work that we wish to have in 2047. But when you talk about a corollary of the modern drug discovery and development, there are so many informatic modules that have been developed. And all this had emerged in the last 30 years because digitization took its birth, or full stream, only in the 90s. So over the last 30 years, you have so many different databases targeting every aspect, be it chemistry, biology, ADME, or even toxicology. And when we are talking of evidence-based medicine, the Cochrane database is a huge, valuable database. And unfortunately, it has only about 3% related to the traditional systems of medicine. And of course, health informatics, which help us lead to informed decision making. Even when you look at from a market perspective, it is a billion-dollar industry that we are talking about. When we are talking of informatics and we are talking of the traditional knowledge, Indian systems of medicine, we, as I said, we have very different small modules in place, and we need to look for integration. Integration becomes easy when there is precedence because it is easier for acceptance and adoption. So I'd like to give you an example of the medical informatics initiative from the Germany, which happened at the country level. At a nationwide initiative was taken. I'd like to quote the Federal Minister of Education and Research saying that digitization can make personalized medicine a reality. Blah, blah, blah. Our goal is a learning, digital, and connected health system. So what they had done through this initiative is close gap between research and healthcare. They made a consortium of all university hospitals linked with research and higher education industries, businesses, health, insurers, and patient advocacy groups. It is to create a framework that harnesses research findings to the direct benefit of patients. They had given an investment of about 300 million euros for this particular work alone. So talks about scale. It talks about integration of everybody involved in research and education, and as well as other aspects related to healthcare. So they made a national steering committee, advisory board. Many working groups had been created, and the consortia was also built. The consortia was across the country, as you would see from the map, and they created about 30 plus odd different streams of education towards addressing medical informatics in the country. They identified experts who would provide the educational resources for this as well. And what I felt was extremely important was that when they talked about this particular initiative, they put together a framework of many matters, including ethics. One, the patient consent documents were created. They created a framework that talks about the regulations and structures of using patient data and biosamples. Core data set and interoperability of different frameworks was put into place. They talked about strategy papers, roadmap for enhanced research, education, and skills development. And of course, thereafter, the roadmap was built for the initiative itself. So here, my vision for Ayurveda 2047 is to bring all this together. When we are talking of Indian systems of medicine, I think we operate anyway between data, information, knowledge, to some extent, insights and wisdom. Perhaps it would be an irony to say that, when we talk of medical informatics, bringing everything together, we are talking of wisdom that we have inherited from our ancestors. But today we are talking about deriving that wisdom to make an informed decision because of the evolution that happened over thousands of years. Today we are very rational beings. We look for evidence of our times, not from the past. And so, what I would say is that we need to bring together, we need to kind of, if we can't break the silos, at least we need to have an interface where we can interact with each other, share whatever is the required information to arrive at this, ISM informatics, which is a vision Ayush 2047. I would not restrict to only Ayurveda because there's so much of information that is available that can talk about the complementarity and synergy between the systems. And if all the other speakers' visions were to come true, what I would like to say is that perhaps we would also be able to achieve the integrative health informatics in 2047. This is, when I started my talk, I talked about IPR. We actually come in way of, patents being granted. But when we do all this, I think there is immense scope for filing patents and gaining IPR. Thank you so much.